Hi everyone, GameDevBits here. You are listening to Timps. Today we've got something special to jump into. We're going to have a look at a preview from some details from Synty Studios, one of their upcoming packs, POLYGON Apocalypse Wasteland. And I've actually got a special guest with me. My usual guest, it's MajorBatman from Linkira Studios.
Hi everyone.
Let's jump in and have a look and see what's going on. So Synty have announced their newest pack is going to be called POLYGON Apocalypse Wasteland, and they've started sharing a bunch of concept art and teasers from that pack. It's been really interesting to see the detail and kind of the variety that they've had along the way. Synty actually first used concept art. They probably had some minor stuff, but they said they first used concept art for the Sci-Fi Worlds pack back in 2021, which was originally called Polygon Sci-Fi Planets. A little bit of that concept art, so let's have a look. So they shared some concept art of some simple weapons. And then we got this amazing stuff from this sandworm, which actually, that made its way into the pack as a couple of skeletons, right?
That it did. It looked rather nice.
The really surprising one was when they shared these details of the environment, kind of these different environment details for different worlds and things they wanted to build. And
Yeah, I don't think we saw too many of those in the packs, though.
No, there was a really limited amount of rocks and things. I think one of the Explorer worlds had a bunch of rocks and crystals and things, but otherwise it feels like this was the early concept stuff when it was going to be different planets, and then they went with these themes for like RTS style things.
Right.
Yeah, so let's have a look and see what's going on with the Apocalypse Wasteland. Some of the early stuff we got to see for it was a couple of these buildings. The first one was this gas station.
The Royal Gas. That's pretty cool.
It's got a nice amount of detail. It looks like an existing building that's been broken, especially with like that hole in the middle of the floor and kind of expanding things out.
Or like a combo of like a boat that became a building.
Yeah, just like it looks like it's been haphazard and kind of stuck together. And I think one thing that really jumps out with Synty stuff is they produce this amazing stuff when they're clearly having fun with the concept.
I was just looking at the gas tanks that it's kind of sitting above that gasoline. So you still need gas in this apocalyptic wasteland, Mad Max type era. So this is where you get it from.
When we saw this, it kind of felt like you can almost see how the modular building pieces would come together for this. So next up, we got to see this one in full color. And the big thing that immediately jumped out is that this does not really lend itself to modularity.
Yeah, hoping a couple of the pieces could be a little modular, like it would be nice to have those tarps with the stand-up pieces, or the chairs and tables being enough to put on, take off. But yeah, you're probably right.
So there's a bunch of pieces here that look like they would fit that way, but overall this is really a non-modular kind of looking thing. And then Synty confirmed those details that based on the scale of the pack, which we know it's going to be a large pack similar to Sci-Fi Worlds and the existing Polygon Apocalypse, this is not going to be a very modular pack, that they'll probably look at doing another pack later on. And just taking a minor segue away from the Apocalypse Wasteland is just to come in and have a look at Polygon Sci-Fi Worlds, where that concept art came from. And we can see that we've got these buildings that they're really non-modular, but they fit in with that concept. Some really exciting style, like we've got these big windows and curves that lean around structures, and then you get all the way up to this mega size structure that has the elevator inside. They've got full interiors in one piece, doors and windows over the other side. We've even got this large rocket launch station.
It's been a while since I've been in Sci-Fi Worlds. It's a beautiful pack.
And I think some people saw that news of a pack being not as modular and took that as kind of a bad thing. And I feel like it's just worth considering that idea. A non-modular pack really gives you this freedom to really lean into things and break away from that grid. That, there are ways to do this stuff, but, like you get these angled walls and the doorway and this kind of thing that just kind of fits together and breaks away from a grid, and exactly the kind of fun they can have with it.
Absolutely. I mean, you can even, you mess with the scale a little bit. Obviously, it'll come with different materials, so you could change the color up. You could do different little things like change, add a tree in front of it, or, a larger dumpster or something a little different. And knowing Synty, they're probably going to also add different signs, so we can change out the sign. The Royal Gas, now you have something that's just slightly different, and the icons, polygon icons, maybe remaking a sign.
Yep.
So it's just a little bit different.
Same as in Sci-Fi Worlds, you've got those antennas and pods and the little pieces and greebles stuck around all over the outside.
There's something to be said about There's maybe a false constraint. I mean, they're giving you so much
Yep.
creativity with the prefabs that they're providing. Like a part of what we need to do as developers.
The next pieces of concept art kind of go well together. So this wasteland kind of highway with a bit of debris and things.
So do you think we're going to see, a decent? We were talking non-modular, but do you think we'll see some modular highway pieces that are kind of broken up like this?
My prediction would be for some road chunks, flat ones, damaged ones, couple of different pieces of damage, and you would kind of make all of this stuff stuck on there completely modular.
If I recall, Polygon Apocalypse had like a bridge and some highway type elements too. That was a little more rundown. So do you think this will just take it one step further, or kind of provide that before and after feel?
I think that's a really great question, and I think of the space that this kind of falls into. The original Polygon Apocalypse was really a suburban pack with a zombie apocalypse taking place within it. Whereas here, this everything we've seen for this pack, the Polygon Apocalypse Wasteland, we go from this highway and we get all the way into this idea of this is set much further in a very different kind of environment. This is a world post chaos. Things have already collapsed and they're rising up again in a different way. You can really see the inspiration of Mad Max and that kind of Fallout kind of stuff, and Synty have reference in how this stuff kind of comes together. And the big thing that jumped out for me in this is around that idea of scale. Like, look at these, look at the little humanoids kind of stuck in there to go, this is how big this thing is. And there's a little note in the bottom corner that says small car uses 1, big vehicle uses 2. That one of those little ramps is the size of a normal domestic vehicle.
That is pretty cool. Do you think that will come with an animation, or do you think those wheels will move and bring it all together, or is that something that we're going to have to work on?
My hope is definitely around these gates and wheels being separate objects that you can configure to rotate and put together. If we look back at some stuff like Sci-Fi Worlds or more recently Elven Realms, Synty have really leaned into that idea of making things out of modular pieces with the pivot point set in the right spot so that you can really get them moving. Here we can see the this robot arm from Polygon Sci-Fi Cyber City and how that arm actually bends and moves and kind of waves its way around. And I'm thinking that level of interactivity should be present here with this bottom gate being able to lower and getting these wheels to actually spin and come together. We'll have a look at a little bit of concept art for some vehicles. So we've got 2 that have really come up.
This thing is cool. This chain bike, I mean, that's really interesting.
This is a really fascinating concept.
I don't think I've ever seen anything like this.
It's got that vibe of we're pushing into the apocalypse, but it's semi-sci-fi. There's a huge amount of engineering required to make something like this work, even if it is slapped together from other parts.
Yeah, it looks like there's like guns on the side, maybe rockets. I mean, that pipe for the muffler definitely deserves to have some smoke and fire and flames shooting out of the back.
Nothing about this vehicle screams safe at all.
This is the most recent release.
Yeah, this is the most recent thing Synty shared. This fits in with the very first video that Synty showed us for the Apocalypse Wasteland pack, which was just one of these kind of road trains, which is an actual locomotive with large truck wheels and other things kind of stuck onto it as some kind of mobile base. I'm really excited for this piece specifically, the concept art, but also for what it kind of speaks and lends itself to going on for the pack as a whole. This is a really exciting idea. It reeks of fun and excitement, like the concept art, the modeling team. Can you imagine how much fun it would be to create something like this?
It looks rather cool. I mean, just the logistics of trying to take a train and like, train tracks don't work anymore. Let's throw some big ass wheels on this and make it work.
All right, and then we'll jump into some characters. These little zombie style guys. So things, everywhere from mind control, wearing a dog collar. This is kind of leaning into that Fallout ghoul level of territory.
That is pretty cool.
And then this has been my favorite piece. In the different variety that you can have. One of the most exciting variants is this guy he's labeled truck and get a shoulder mounted guy.
Oh, I hope that becomes a backpack and we could just use that on any big rig.
So now we can jump into some of the actual models that Synty have shown off. So we've got this junk boat, which is looking fairly complete as a part of the pack. It's just a boat with barbed wire and shrapnel, completely unidentifiable parts putting it together. The poles holding it up are taped together because they're made out of fence posts or pickets. They clearly didn't have anything long enough. Fan and propeller on the back in 2 layers, but it's bent and damaged and broken. This looks like it's been put together and assembled from junk. And we actually got to see recently the actual environment that at least this part would fit into.
Ooh, I
Edge
haven't
Batman,
seen that yet.
my guess that we're going to see something similar to Sci-Fi Worlds, where there'll be a couple of different environments within the pack. So you'll have this toxic goop forest and then kind of other things as well.
Now that you're putting it together, I could absolutely see that. So approaching kind of the sci-fi worlds aspect, they had three different planets. Yeah, you could have this. Then you have kind of the desert, wasteland, arid. I could see this really going well with their Nature's 2 pack, where they kind of thought like, oh, how do we mix and match these? So, nature swamp.
This looks like it would fit in really well with either swamp or polygon arid desert. And considering this pack's been in production for a while, my guess would be that it was at least considered when the arid desert for Polygon Nature Biome Season 2 was being put together, because it feels like there's a real overlap between them. All right, and our final two pieces of concept art. So we've got this little dune buggy, again, built out of junk. You can see, you've got this part in the middle here that looks like it came from some kind of hot rod, but as things have been modified from there, you've got the fans on the back to really help it go.
I can't wait to get those fans working in the back.
They look like saw blades stuck on the side. Are they ready to spin?
You know what this reminds me of? So in 40K, the orcs think that anything with red and flames goes faster. Like, it almost has that type of vibes in it.
Our final piece that we've seen is this souped up modified apocalypse vehicle.
I don't think we've had a monster truck yet.
There was a bit of discussion when this first came up inside the Synty Discord. The conclusion we're kind of coming to is you look at this bottom plate, which looks like they've really thought about it, is mounted onto the axle, and then the top part is on the suspension. So as you bounce around, that would make your jaw snap and close.
That'd be sweet.
And then you've got this backhoe stuck on the back, and then this decorative stuff of these metal plates to create like a dinosaur-like silhouette.
It is pretty cool. I hope that swings. I hope it has a couple pivot points. It'd be sweet if like that claw can actually drop down like a claw machine, and just removable, so we could just throw it someplace else. Pretty cool.
Some pivot points at the base of this piston actually being able to work, pivoting at this top point here, and like you said, this claw, if that can be detached as a separate game object to use something like obi rope or a spline renderer just to be able to grab onto stuff. There's a lot of excitement and action in this. This might be the most concept art teasers and demos Synty have ever shown of a pack that was in development.
Absolutely. And they've started a little bit ago. You wouldn't happen to have the date, would you?
Yeah, I think this has been now since February. So 2 entire months of concept art and teasing and sharing to before this was, and it's not yet out.
No.
It's also the first large pack in a long time. Sci-Fi Worlds, I believe, was the last mega pack.
And you know what's right around the corner in about a month, right? Furiosa release date. So they could be timing it pretty well with that. That'd be pretty cool.
Is that well timed or an extraordinary coincidence?
I don't know. I mean, Furiosa's been probably announced for a minute.
Well, thank you, MajorBatman, so much for joining and running through a little bit of experimentation and forecasting and predicting about the pack. And to close things out, we'll just have a look at the last video that Synty shared of the bridge from the pack in its final 3D glory.
I mean, they're good at this.
They really are amazing at it. Thanks, everyone. I'll catch you in the next video.
Thank you, Timps, for having me.